Hello guys. Ang matatopic to po natin ngayon is under chapter 7.1. Confidence intervals, single sample. Confidence intervals for mu. For n greater than or equal to 30, ang magagamit po nating formula ay ito. Kung mas marami ang sample size natin sa 30, ito ang gagamitin natin na formula. For n is less than 30, ito naman. Kung mas mababa sa 30 ang sample size natin, ito ang gagamitin nating formula. Use the t-table with df is equal to n less 1. Ito yung example natin. Descriptive statistics on variable measured in a sample of n is equal to 3,539 participants attending the 7th examination of the offspring in the Framingham Heart Study are shown below. Ito po yung overall table natin regarding dyan sa example na yan or problem. Because the sample is large, we can generate a 95% confidence interval for systolic blood pressure using the following formula. Ito yung formula na gagamitin natin. The z-value for 95% confidence is 1.96. Yun yung z-value natin, 1.96. Substituting the sample statistics and the z-value for 95% confidence, we have ito. Kung saan 95% interval natin is equal to 127.3 plus or minus 1.96 multiplied by the quantity of 19 over square root of 3,534. Kung i-input nyo yan sa calculator, ang makukuha natin is 127.3 plus minus 0.63. Ang final answer natin is, the confidence interval is 126.7 at 127.9. Dyan nagtatapos ang lesson natin regarding sa topic na yan. Let's move naman sa chapter 8.1, hypothesis testing. What is hypothesis testing? Ano nga ba ang hypothesis testing? Hypothesis testing is the theory, methods, and practice of testing a hypothesis by comparing it with the null hypothesis. The null hypothesis is only rejected if its probability falls below a predetermined significance level. Nare-reject lang siya kung yung probability niya is nagfo-fall siya sa predetermined significance level. In which case, the hypothesis being tested is said to have that level of significance. Ano nga ba ang hypothesis? A hypothesis is an approximate siya, explanation that relates to the set of facts that can be tested by further investigations. There are basically two types. Ano nga yung two types natin? Ang two types natin is null hypothesis and alternative hypothesis. I-discuss natin yung two types of hypothesis. The two types of hypothesis. Ang una is null hypothesis. Ano nga ba ang null hypothesis? The purpose and importance of the null hypothesis and alternative hypothesis are that they provide an approximate description of the phenomena. Ang purpose ng dalawang yun is binibigay nila yung approximate description regarding sa phenomena. The null hypothesis is generally denoted as H0 or pwede ring H sub O. It states the exact opposite of what an investigator or an experimenter predicts or expects. It basically defines the statement which states that there is no exact or actual relationship between the variables. So ano nga ba naman ang alternative hypothesis natin? So ito. The alternative hypothesis is generally denoted as H1 or pwede ring H sub 1. It makes a statement that suggests or advises a potential result. So potential result or an outcome that an investigator or the researcher may expect. So nagbibigay siya ng parang sinasabi or na nagsasuggest ng potential result na magiging outcome ng phenomena. It has been categorized into two categories. So ano yung dalawang categories na yun? Directional alternative hypothesis and non-directional alternative hypothesis. So let's move on to example naman. Kung saan a medical trial is conducted to test whether or not a new medicine reduces cholesterol by 25%. State the null and alternative hypothesis. So para makuha natin yung null and alternative hypothesis, titignan natin yung example. So ano nga ba ang hinahanap? Ang hinahanap natin dyan na sagot is kung whether or not a new medicine reduces cholesterol by 25%. So kung magbe-base tayo dyan, ang makukuha nating null hypothesis is the drug reduces cholesterol by 25%. So ang magiging value ng P natin is equal to 0.25 since the drug reduces cholesterol by 25%. Ang alternative naman natin is the drug does not reduce cholesterol by 25%. So ang P naman natin dyan is hindi na siya equal to 0.25 since the drug does not reduce cholesterol by it. So let's move on to example number 2 naman. Kung saan we want to test if college students takes less than 5 years to graduate from college on the average. So parang sa example number 1, hanapin natin dyan para kung paano natin mahanap yung null and alternative hypothesis. So based sa problem na yan, ang null and alternative hypothesis natin is greater than or equal to 5 at less than 5. And that ends our lesson regarding sa topic na yan. Sana may natutunan kayo. Ang susunod naman na lesson natin is under chapter 8.2. Test on the mean of a normal distributions, variance known. So let's move on sa example. Boys of a certain age are known to have a mean weight of 85 pounds. A complaint is made that the boys living in a municipal children's home are underfed. As one bit of evidence, where n is equal to 25 boys of the same age are weighed and found to have a mean weight of 80.94 pounds. In pounds po siya. It is known that the population standard deviation is 11.6 pounds, which is the unrealistic part of this example. Based on the available data, what should be concluded concerning the complaint? So, ano nga ba yung i-conclude natin? So, let's move on to solution. So, ang solution natin is, the null hypothesis is 85 and the alternative hypothesis is less than 85. In general, we know that if the weights are normally distributed, then Z is equal to sample mean less population mean divided by or over population standard divided by or over the square root of sample size. For testing the null hypothesis naman ito, against any possible alternative hypothesis. So, the value of the test statistic is kung saan z is equal to direct substitution na lang based dun sa formula kanina. 80.94 less 85 over 11.6 over square root of 25. So, as you input it on your calculator, ang makukuha nating sagot dyan is negative 1.75. So, the critical region approach tells us to reject the null hypothesis. So, i-reject natin yung null hypothesis at A is equal to 0.05 level if Z is less than negative 1.645. Therefore, we reject the null hypothesis. So, i-reject na natin yung null hypothesis. Bakit? Because Z is equal to negative 1.75 and mas maliit siya, less than negative 1.645 and therefore falls in the rejection region. So, nagpa-fall siya sa rejection region. As always, we draw the same conclusion by using the p-value approach. Recall that the p-value approach tells us to reject the null hypothesis at the A is equal to 0.05 level. If the p-value is less than or equal to A is equal to 0.05, in this case, the p-value is p quantity of Z less than negative 1.75 is equal to 0.0401. So, nandito po yung 0.0401. We reject the null hypothesis because the p-value is equal to 0.0401. And that ends our lesson regarding sa topic na yan. So, let's move on to chapter 9.1. Interference on the difference in means of two normal distributions, variance known. So, example, a product developer is interested in reducing the drying time of a primer print. Two formulations of the paint are tested. Formulation 1 is the standard chemistry, and formulation 2 has a new drying ingredient that should reduce the drying time. From experience, it is known that the standard deviation of drying time is 8 minutes, and this inherent variability should be unaffected by the addition of the new ingredient. 10 specimens are painted with formulation 1 and another 10 specimens are painted with formulation 2. So, ang ginamit sa unang specimens na 10 is yung formulation 1 at formulation 2 naman sa iba. The 20 specimens are painted in random order. The two sample average drying times are 121 minutes and 112 minutes, respectively. What conclusions can the product developer draw about the effectiveness of the new ingredient using A is equal to 0.05? So, ito yung 8-step procedure natin. Number 1 is the parameter of interference. The difference in mean drying times is ito. Kung saan mu1 less mu2 and delta O is equal to 0. Null hypothesis natin is mu1 less mu2 is equal to 0. Alternative hypothesis naman is mu1 is greater than mu2. Ang fourth step natin is A is equal to 0.05. Fifth is the test statistic. Kung saan ang test statistic natin is Z sub O is equal to X sub 1 less X sub 2 less 0 over square root nito. So number 6, reject the null hypothesis if the p-value is less than 0.05. So computation, since x sub 1 is equal to 121 minutes and x sub 2 is equal to 112 minutes, the test statistic is, so direct substitution na natin, z sub o is equal to 121 less 112 over the square root of 8 square over 10 plus 8 square over 10. So kung i-input nyo yan sa calculator nyo, ang makukuha nyong value is 2.52. So conclusion, since z sub o is equal to 2.52, the p-value is p is equal to this one. So we can reject the h sub o at the a is equal to 0.05 level. So interpretation, we can conclude that adding the new ingredient to the paint significantly reduces drying time. So effective siya. And that ends our lesson regarding sa topic na yan. So, ang next topic natin is under chapter 10.1, which is yung empirical models. So, ano nga ba ang empirical models? What is empirical model? So, empirical modeling is the parsimonious description of observable stochastic phenomena using statistical model. More plainly, the primary objective of empirical modeling is to provide an adequate description of certain types of observable phenomena in the form siya of statistical models. So, ito ang empirical model. Y is equal to intercept plus slope is equal to error within term E. Error term with E. Based on the diagram, the mean of the random variable y is related to x by following a straight line relationship. So, E quantity of y over x is equal to mu y over x is equal to intercept plus slope. So, ito yung table natin regarding sa oxygen and hydrocarbon levels. 1 hanggang 20 siya. Ito yung observation number and ito rin hydrocarbon level. Ito naman yung purity. So, ito naman yung table natin regarding sa scatter diagram of oxygen purity versus hydrocarbon level. So, ito siya. Ito naman yung the distribution of y for a given value of x for the oxygen purity hydrocarbon data. Negative 75 could be interpreted as the oxygen purity level with 0 hydrocarbon level. Negative 15 is the marginal effect of 1 unit of hydrocarbon level. For every unit more of hydrocarbon level, we estimate its oxygen purity grows by 15 units. So, ang oxygen purity natin is nag-grow siya by 15 units naman. And that ends our topic regarding sa topic na yan. So, let's move on to our last topic. Under chapter 10.4, hypothesis test in simple linear regression. So, what is linear regression? Ano nga ba ang linear regression? Linear regression is a basic and commonly used type of predictive analysis. The overall idea of regression is to examine two things. So, ano nga ba yung dalawang bagay na yon? So, una, does a set of predictor variables do a good job in predicting an outcome variable? So, ang pangalawa is, which variables in particular are significant predictors of the outcome variable? And in what way do they indicate by the magnitude and sign of the beta estimates impact the outcome variable? The regression estimates are used to explain the relationship between one dependent variable and one more independent variables. The simplest form of the regression equation with one dependent and one independent variable is defined by the formula y is equal to c plus bx, kung saan ang y is yung estimated dependent variable score. Ang c naman is constant. Ang b natin is yung regression coefficient, and x ay yung score on the independent variable. So, let's move on sa formula. The equation of the least square line for the n-ordered pairs is ito, where b is equal to n summation of xy less the quantity of summation of x multiplied by the quantity of summation y over or divided by n summation of x square less the quantity of summation of x square, where b is the slope, the regression coefficient showing how much y changes for each unit change in x. A is the intercept, is a constant showing the value of y when the initial value of x is 0. So let's move on to example. Examine the relationship between the age and price for used cars sold last year by a car dealership company. So, dun sa red na boxes is yun yung car's age in years. Yun yung X natin. Sa kulay blue naman is yung price in 1,000 pesos. Yun yung Y natin, which is 630, 580, and etc. hanggang 220. By using the formula, we first find the value of each summations, kung saan ang summation of x is 82. Ang summation of y naman is 4,500. So, i-square natin yung x. Ang makukuha natin dyan sa summation of x square is equal to 690. Summation of xy naman, yung dalawa, is equal to 29,590. So, let's move on sa solving na. So, alam naman natin ang formula is ito, kung saan b is equal to n summation of xy less the quantity of summation of x multiplied by the quantity of summation of y over or divided by n summation of x square less summation of x square. So, direct substitution yan based sa given natin kanina sa mga na-solve natin. Ang ilalagay natin is 11 times 29,590 less 82 times 4,500 over or divided by 11 times 690 less 82 square. So, ang makukuha nating value dyan ng b is equal to negative 24249423 or i-round off natin, b is equal to negative 50.24. We then find the value of x bar and y bar, kung saan ang x bar is equal to summation of x over n. So, ang n natin is yung 11. Is equal to direct substitution 82 over 11. So, ang makukuha nating value dyan as you input it on your calculator is 7.4545455. Ang y bar naman is equal to summation of y over n direct substitution, parang sa x bar lang. So, ang makukuha nyo sa calculator nyo is 409.09099091. So, ang A natin is equal to 409.09099091 less negative 50.24249423 multiplied by 7.454545455. So, makukuha nating value dyan is A is equal to 783.6258.661, or simply A is equal to 783.63. Round off natin. Hence, the equation of the regression line is y is equal to negative 50.24x is equal to 783.63. With an estimated slope of negative 50.24, it can be concluded that the average car price decreases by 50. 240 for each year a car increases in age. So, dyan nagtatapos lahat ng lesson natin. Sana may natutunan kayo. Thank you for listening.